Welcome back to Lou's Labs. Today we're going to talk about the Pan OS 8.1 Setup Threat Protection. So here you can see we're in the monitor under Threat Protection and there's nothing in here. That's because we got to configure it. So the first step we need to do is verify under Device tab and make sure we have the appropriate license for that. So we go under Device, down the bottom, Device. Here we can see we have threat protection. Great. So the next thing we want to do is go to dynamic updates and make sure we have them installed and make sure we have the latest. So we're going to do check now, and it's going connecting to Palo Alto to see if it's there. Okay, so we have the latest, but we don't have the latest antivirus, so let's go ahead and install that. So we're going to click download, and then that's going to download from Palo Alto. This moves pretty quick. It's a relatively small file. And then once this finishes, we got the little checkbox showing us that it's downloaded. Here we can click on release notes and see here's what's covered in there. Awesome. So the next thing we need to do is install it. So we're going to go ahead and install. I'm just going to hit close. Now remind you can always go back to the task bar and see where you're at in percentage wise. Not a big deal. So from there we're going to go to objects, and then we're going to go to our threat protection. It's made up of vulnerability protection. So we have two by default. We have alert and strict, and then here you can see how things are organized. So you have your rules, your threat types, host types, severity, actions, and then if you want to capture a PCAP, you can enable that. And again, you can have multiple little objects, however you want to describe them. If you want to call them policies, settings, configurations. You can have multiple configurations for multiple rules because you're going to apply these to your ACLs. So you can have one maybe for your DMZ, one for inbound, one for outbound traffic. So you want to maybe have different severities or different things you want to monitor. So if we want to create a new one, or if you want to use the default one, you can. So we're going to go ahead and just click new real quick, or add. We're going to, again, you can use a name. Maybe if you're making profiles for each rule, maybe you use the rule. So like an example, I have a rule called tap. And then here we can set up how these rules work. So here we can call it whatever we're looking to do at the particular moment. So we can have any type of threat. We can have the default action, or we can say drop. So here's your different choices. You have your default, that's how the rule comes in from Palo Alto, is set up for these different areas. You can do of course allow, alert. So allow won't log it, alert will. Drop will essentially drop the packet. Reset will just send a message to the client to reset. Same thing with server, or you can do both. Here's something that's kind of cool is IP block. This is something that came with the newer feature. You can set up the duration of time. So if you want to put somebody in a timeout based on seconds, you have the default is 360 seconds. I think that's like 30 minutes an hour, I'm not sure. Someone can do the math for me. And then you can say, you can apply that to the host, the client, the server, depending on how you want to handle that. So let's say we're going to make this the tap timeout rule, which because it's configured as a tap, it's not going to really do anything. So we're just going to go for more for the alert side, because this is essentially what we're creating is an IDS. So we're just going to go with alerts. And yes, I can't spell. Alright, forget it. So we're going to go with alerts. So we want to know anything. So we're going to go with, maybe high, critical. You can do informational if you want to. We can, since it is an IDS, you can still do the PCAP. So you can capture the PCAP if you want to. And then we're going to essentially hit OK. And then again, it's always good to put a description in there. If you want to change a particular rule and how it's going to handle something, you can go here, show all signatures, and then here it shows you all the different signatures, the default settings, and how they're going to apply. And then you can see how they're set up. So you have IDs, so you can do individual IDs, threat names, IP address. You can set up exclusions for particular IPs, particular rules. You can search by CVEs, if it's a host type, category, severity, however you want to. You can dice this up a couple different ways you want to. So I'm essentially going to just go with the any and capture the packets. And then from there, you can do the same thing with your antivirus. Again, you can create your rules and how we're gonna, what is the default action. We can make our own. Again, we can do drop, but no, we want to go with alerting because again, this environment is configured as a tap, so it's not going to do much more than that. Again, we can change the severity. So if we want to just know critical and highs, again, we can say, apply by the rule, and then maybe what its function is. And then again, applying, giving it a name, because this way when we apply to a particular rule to our ACL, we know what it is. Another thing we can do sinkholing. Again, you need, being in a tap environment, you can't sinkhole, so there's no sense in configuring this portion up. And then the same thing with your antivirus. I'm just going to go with the default settings, which is fine because essentially it's a tap. It's not going to do anything, but it's still going to, by default, it's still going to do some type of alerting. And then from there, we're going to go to our policy, find our particular rule. In our particular case, we only got one rule. So we can go over here and then go under actions. And then if we created a single type of profile, we can go in there. So we can go in here and say, here's our default for the antivirus. Here's our tap. Here's our tap one again. There's the URL one filtering that we set up. And the same thing, if we set up a profile for file blocking, data filtering, again, we can do that. Maybe we can set up a schedule. Maybe we want certain things to happen during the day. Maybe we don't want this rule to work during the day. We can, we can do some really more advanced features. At this point, we're going to hit OK. And then we have to commit the change. If we don't commit the change, then this is not going to take effect. And there we go. And then if we go back to monitor, and then if I had some traffic going on, like maybe doing a Nessa scan or doing something else, this would show up at this point. But at this point we have it configured. It's just a matter now some type of event has to happen for this to work. I'll set up something later, and come back, make a part 2 of this showing an actual traffic running through, and then we can see the event. Thanks for watching. Bye.